good to be with you today. If you have recently discovered these devotions, or if this is your first one, welcome. I'm glad that you've joined us. I want to share with you that these have been started, these devotions, as an opportunity for us to develop a new faith practice during these quaran times by reading one chapter of the Bible each day. And so I invite you and I encourage you to continue following along with us. Every day there will be a new one with the next chapter. Right now we're in the Gospel of Matthew. And if you want to get caught up on previous devotions and chapters, you can go to the website of www.mainstreetumcboonville.com and catch up with old devotions there. I'm going to be reading today from Matthew chapter 18. I'm reading from the New Revised Standard Version. You're welcome to use whatever version you would like, and I'll give you just a minute to find it. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a child whom he put among them and said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever becomes humble like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. If any of you put a stumbling block before one of these little ones who believe in me, it would be better for you if a great millstone were fastened around your neck and you were drowned in the depths of the sea. Woe to the world because of stumbling blocks. Occasions for stumbling are bound to come, but woe to whom the one by whom the stumbling block comes. If your hand or your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life maimed or lame than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and to be thrown into the eternal fire. And if your eye causes you to stumble, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and to be thrown into the hell of fire. Take care that you do not despise one of these little ones. For I tell you, in heaven their angels continually see the face of my Father in heaven. What do you think? If a shepherd has 100 sheep and one of them has gone astray, does he not leave the 99 on the mountains and go in search of the one that went astray? And if he finds it, truly I tell you, he rejoices over it, more than the 99 that never went astray. So it is not the will of your Father in heaven that one of these little ones should be lost. If another member of the church sins against you, go and point out the fault while the 2 of you are alone. If the member listens to you, you have regained that one. But if you are not listened to, take 1 or 2 others along with you, so that every word may be confirmed by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If the member refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if the offender refuses to listen even to the church, let such a one be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. Truly I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again, truly I tell you, if 2 of you agree on earth about anything you ask, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there among them." Then Peter came and said to him, "Lord, if another member of the church sins against me, how often should I forgive? As many as 7 times?" Jesus said to him, "Not 7 times, but I tell you 77 times. For this reason, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his slaves. When he began the reckoning, one who owed him 10,000 talents was brought to him, and as he could not pay, his lord ordered him to be sold, together with his wife and children and all his possessions, and payment to be made. So the slave fell on his knees before him, saying, 'Have patience with me, and I will pay you everything.' And out of pity for him, the lord of that slave released him and forgave him that debt. But that same slave, as he went out, came upon one of his fellow slaves who owed him 100 denarii, and seizing him by the throat, he said, 'Pay what you owe.' Then his fellow slave fell down and pleaded with him, 'Have patience with me, and I will pay you.' But he refused. Then he went and threw him into prison until he would pay the debt. When his fellow slaves saw what had happened, they were greatly distressed, and they went and reported to their lord all that had taken place. Then his lord summoned him and said to him, 'You wicked slave, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me. Should you not have had mercy on your fellow slave as I had mercy on you?' And in anger his lord handed him over to be tortured until he would pay his entire debt. So my heavenly Father will also do to every one of you, if you do not forgive your brother or sister from your heart." It seems to me that there are 2 different things going on in this chapter. The first is God's care for those who are most vulnerable: children, people who are constantly tempted to sin or commit wrongdoings, and those who are lost, either physically or spiritually. And the second is God's desire that members of the church would show each other grace and forgiveness like God shows us. On the other hand, maybe they're not so unrelated after all, because being unforgiving or having a specific ongoing conflict with another person puts us at risk, doesn't it? When I'm really angry at someone, I'm not my best self. I spend way too much time thinking about that person and how they've wronged me. I think more highly of myself than is really warranted, because the worse that someone that I'm mad at seems in my mind, the better I look in contrast. I'm more likely to make bad decisions. I'm distracted from the things that I'm doing because that conflict keeps taking up all my mental oxygen. And every time I try to pray, I just keep mulling over the ways in which that other person has wronged me. Or if I'm in the wrong, or mostly in the wrong, I spend all my energy making excuses for why I did what I did. If there is a good thing about these quaran-times in regard to that, at least we're in contact with less people. And so in theory, there are less people that we can get into conflict with. The downside, though, is the people we are in contact with, we're in contact with a lot. So if someone does something to me, or if I do something to them that needs forgiveness, I have all this time at home to mull things over. Or if it happens on social media, I have lots more time to make passive-aggressive comments toward them. There are so many things that we can't do right now to serve God and practice the teachings of Jesus because of the place that we are, this moment that we're in history. But one thing that we all can do is to work on our relationships with others, at least by phone or electronic communication, if they're not people who live in our house. So if there's a phone call that you need to make, or a video chat that you need to set up, or if there's a conversation that you need to have with somebody who's living in your house, if there's someone that you're in conflict with that needs to be resolved so that both of you can get back to praying and worshiping and living with undivided hearts, won't you consider doing it? It might be a hard conversation, sure, but you might just end up leaving it feeling like a millstone has been taken from around your neck. We'll see you tomorrow for Matthew chapter 19.